Public health experts are plotting a new FDA ban on chemicals in many antibacterial soaps. The government is targeting 19 ingredients found in soaps and body washes.
In December, one jury looked at one company and ordered it to pay $1,560 million to one woman. Not a class action, not a settlement split 1,000 ways. One plaintiff, the largest single payout in 15 years of courtroom battles over talc. The company knew, according to the jury, knew for decades, said nothing. And this is not just baby powder. That same ingredient still turns up as filler inside bar soap, the soap sitting in your shower right now. 5 brands on this list should never touch your skin again. 5 more actually deserve a spot in your bathroom. Stick around. Brand 1 might already be there. Brand 1, Johnson & Johnson. Picture the powder blue bottle sitting on the nursery shelf, the bar of baby soap next to the tub. That specific smell that still means safety to half the people watching this video right now. This is the brand pediatricians recommended for generations. The brand your mother used on you and her mother used on her. Trust built one bath time at a time, passed down like a family recipe nobody questioned. Here is the reveal, and it is bigger than one lawsuit. In December of 2025, a Baltimore jury ordered Johnson & Johnson to pay one woman $1,560 million, the largest single plaintiff talc verdict in 15 years of litigation. The jury found the company knew its talc-based products carried asbestos risk and had known since as far back as the 1930s. That verdict landed only 2 months after a Los Angeles jury awarded a separate family $966 million. And 2 months before that, a Minnesota jury awarded another $65 million. 3 separate juries, 3 separate cities, the same conclusion every time. Internal company documents shown in court described decades of internal testing and decades of silence about the results. Looks gentle, reads different once the court documents get unsealed. Here is the ownership fact that makes it worse. In 2023, Johnson & Johnson spun its consumer health division into a separate company called Kenvue. It then agreed to cover Kenvue for every talc-related lawsuit going forward indefinitely. Even the parent company that made the product for 100 years didn't want to hold that liability alone on its own books. For the new parent who thought gentle meant safe, this is what you actually bought. A bottle backed by a company that restructured its entire business to manage the lawsuits it saw coming from a mile away. The one carve-out here is real and worth saying clearly. The current cornstarch-based formula, sold since talc was phased out worldwide by 2023, does not carry the same asbestos exposure risk the lawsuits are built on. If brand loyalty runs deep, that newer formula is the one to reach for. The old talc formula is the one juries keep ruling on, verdict after verdict. Same brand, 3 verdicts in 1 year. 0 admissions of wrongdoing. But a billion-dollar jury verdict took years to reach a courtroom. The next brand on this list didn't need years. It got caught this year with something actively growing inside the bottle while it sat on the shelf. Brand 2, Dermarite Industries. Picture the wall-mounted dispenser bolted above the sink in a hospital bathroom, the one refilled weekly in your grandmother's care facility, the one your dentist's office has used for years without a second thought. This is soap trusted precisely because it feels clinical, institutional, the kind of product nobody questions because it lives inside buildings full of professionals who are supposed to already know better than the rest of us. Here is the reveal. In August of 2025, Dermarite Industries issued a nationwide recall covering 4 separate hand soap formulas after routine testing detected a bacteria called Burkholderia cepacia complex. Federal health officials describe this bacteria as capable of causing serious and, in some cases, life-threatening infections, particularly in people with weakened immune systems. The company itself stated the risk plainly, warning that healthy users might see local infections, while immunocompromised users could face infections spreading into the bloodstream and turning septic. Looks sterile. Reads contaminated the moment the lab results came back positive. Here is the fact that makes this worse than a typical recall. The affected bottles carry expiration dates stretching from July of 2025 all the way through August of 2027. That is a 2-year window. Bottles mounted on walls and stocked in supply closets right now could still fall inside that range, still waiting to be used on someone vulnerable. For the caregiver who trusted the clinical medical-grade label without a second thought, this is what you actually brought into a vulnerable person's home. A product built specifically for people who could least afford a contaminated bottle, contaminated anyway. The one thing Dermarite did right deserves credit. The recall was voluntary, issued the moment contamination was confirmed, with specific lot and reorder numbers published so buyers could check their shelves immediately. That transparency is the least bad part of this story. Compare that to a company that got caught decades ago and changed nothing until forced, built to protect the sick, ended up threatening them instead this same year. The next brand on this list didn't get caught by an outbreak. It got caught by the federal government a full decade before most people ever noticed anything was wrong. Brand 3. Dial. Picture the gold bar sitting in the soap dish of nearly every American bathroom for the last 50 years. That specific smell that means clean before the shower curtain even opens. The bar your dad kept by the kitchen sink and your school kept in every bathroom stall. This is the brand that built its entire identity on killing germs better than anything else on the shelf. The name people reached for specifically because it promised more protection than a plain bar of soap ever could, marketed for decades as the doctor recommended, science-backed choice. Here is the reveal, and it took the federal government the better part of 40 years to act on it. In 2016, the Food and Drug Administration banned triclosan and triclocarbon, along with 17 other antibacterial ingredients, ruling that manufacturers had failed to prove those chemicals were either safe for long-term daily use or more effective than plain soap and water. Dial used triclosan in its liquid formula and triclocarbon in its bar soap for decades leading up to that ban, built almost entirely on the antibacterial promise. On top of that regulatory finding, Dial paid $7,400,000 to settle a class action lawsuit specifically over marketing claims that its soap killed 99.99% of household germs and worked better than any other liquid hand soap sold. The company denied wrongdoing. It paid anyway. Looks like extra protection. Reads like an unproven claim the federal government eventually shut down after 4 decades of debate. Here is the ingredient reality that lands closer to home. Some current Dial bar formulas still list talc among the inactive ingredients today, the exact mineral at the center of the billion-dollar verdicts already covered earlier in this video. Same shelf, same mineral, different brand name on the wrapper. For the parent who bought Dial specifically because it promised to kill more germs than anything else in the store, this is what you actually bought. A marketing claim the company had to pay to settle, sitting next to an ingredient nobody wants to read twice in one video. The one carve-out worth naming is Dial's fragrance-free, dye-free bar. Fewer additives, fewer allergy triggers, and no antibacterial marketing claim attached that regulators have ever had to challenge. If brand loyalty runs deep here, that plain version is the one to reach for. Antibacterial claim. 40 years of quiet federal pushback before anyone acted. But Dial got caught by a lawsuit over what it claimed its soap could do. The next brand on this list never made a bold claim at all. It just filled every shelf, every scent, every gift set, until the label became something nobody thought to check. Brand 4. Bath & Body Works. Picture the wall of bottles at the mall every holiday season. Dozens of scents stacked floor to ceiling. Gift sets piled up before Thanksgiving even arrives. This is the brand people buy by the armful without a second thought. Not because anyone researched the formula, but because the store smells incredible from 2 doors down, and the packaging feels like a small treat you deserve. Here is the reveal. Independent ingredient reviews consistently flag Bath & Body Works, soaps and washes for heavy synthetic fragrance loads that dominate the ingredient list. Parabens linked in published research to endocrine disruption and potential fertility effects, and DMDM hydantoin, a formaldehyde-releasing preservative that the International Agency for Research on Cancer classifies as a probable human carcinogen. None of this is hidden exactly. It is just buried under a scent so strong nobody stops to check the back of the bottle. Looks like a treat. Reads like a chemistry set once you actually check the label under the perfume. Read the first 5 ingredients on a typical bottle. Water, sodium lauryl sulfate, cocamidopropyl betaine, fragrance, and sodium chloride. That single word, fragrance, can legally hide dozens of undisclosed chemical components behind one line on the label with no requirement to list a single one of them by name. For the shopper who thought a bigger, bolder scent meant a better, more luxurious product, this is what you actually bought. A wall of good smells built on a short, repetitive ingredient list that dermatologists have been warning about for years. The one carve-out that genuinely holds up is the brand's fragrance-free hand soap line. Stripping out the synthetic perfume removes the single biggest offender on the label and leaves a formula much closer to what a basic drugstore soap would already give you for a fraction of the price. Beautiful bottle. Ordinary formula hiding underneath the scent. The next brand on this list didn't get flagged for what it added to the formula. It got flagged for a scent so familiar and so nostalgic, nobody ever thought to ask what was actually inside the bar. Brand 5. Irish Spring Picture. The green and white bar, sitting in half the showers in America, the one your dad kept on the ledge, the one every locker room and summer camp bathroom seemed to stock without exception. This is the brand that smells like childhood for an entire generation. Not a luxury purchase, not a trend, just the bar of soap that was always there, trusted precisely because nobody ever thought to question something this ordinary and this familiar. Here is the reveal. Independent ingredient reviews consistently flag Irish Spring for sulfates, specifically sodium lauryl sulfate and sodium laureth sulfate, which strip the skin of its natural oils and increase penetration through the skin's surface according to federal toxicology data. On top of that, published research in the journal Contact Dermatitis identifies synthetic fragrance as one of the top 5 allergens causing skin reactions, and Irish Spring leans heavily on fragrance to create its signature scent. The brand's formulation history also sits inside a broader antibacterial soap category, where formaldehyde-releasing preservatives like DMDM Hydantoin have shown up repeatedly across competing products on the same shelf. Looks like a harmless childhood staple. Reads like a sulfate and fragrance-heavy formula once you check what's actually inside it. Read the first 5 ingredients on a typical bar: sodium tallowite, sodium cocoate, water, fragrance, and sodium chloride. Tallow-based soap isn't automatically bad, but fragrance sitting that high on the list means it makes up a real percentage of the bar, not a trace amount added for a faint scent. For the person who assumed the childhood brand couldn't possibly be a problem because it never felt like a purchase decision in the first place, this is what you actually bought. A bar built almost entirely around scent and lather, with the actual skin barrier as an afterthought. The one carve-out worth naming is Irish Spring's fragrance-free option, sold in smaller distribution but still on shelves. Removing the fragrance removes the single biggest allergen risk on the label and leaves a simpler, more honest bar underneath the branding. Nostalgic scent, sulfates, and fragrance doing most of the work. 5 different brands, 5 different decades, 5 different ways of getting caught. Whether that was a courtroom in Baltimore, a recall notice in August, a federal ban 40 years in the making, or a fragrance blend nobody thought to question until now. But look closer, and it's not 5 different stories. It's one story wearing 5 different labels. A brand builds trust the slow way, over generations, over childhood memories, over a nursery shelf or a locker room stall. Then somewhere along the way, a shortcut gets taken, a cheaper preservative, an unproven claim, an ingredient that still tests fine on paper until someone finally checks. The label never changes on its own. It changes when a lawsuit forces it, when a regulator forces it, when a contamination report forces it. Never before. That's the pattern. Trust first, shortcut second, reckoning last, and only when someone else makes them. So what does it actually look like when a brand skips that whole cycle, when the shortcut never gets taken in the first place because the company built its reputation on not needing one? That's the second half of this list. 5 brands that never had a scandal to walk back because they never gave themselves a reason to need one. Safe pick 1. Dr. Bronner's. Where others sell scent and packaging, this sells one label with nothing to hide behind it. The founder story here is genuinely unusual. Emanuel Bronner started making soap in the 1940s, printing his own philosophy in tiny text across every bottle label, decades before clean labeling was a marketing category anyone thought to invent. The company stayed independent, family-run, and largely unchanged in its approach for 3 generations. Here is the verification. Nearly the entire Pure Castile line carries the EWG verified mark, meeting the Environmental Working Group's strictest criteria for both transparency and ingredient safety. The company also holds USDA organic certification, Leaping Bunny cruelty-free status, and fair trade certification on its core oils, layering independent audits on top of independent audits rather than relying on a single self-awarded badge. Here is the ingredient proof. Read the first 5 ingredients on a bottle of the Pure Castile soap. Water, organic coconut oil, potassium hydroxide, organic olive oil, and organic hemp oil. No sulfates. No synthetic fragrance, no formaldehyde-releasing preservative hiding behind a chemical name most people can't pronounce. The honest limitation is worth naming clearly. Castile soap is alkaline, and some users with very dry or reactive skin find it strips more than a cream-based cleanser would. It is also not a moisturizing bar. Anyone expecting a lotion-like finish should pair it with a separate moisturizer afterward. Not expect the soap alone to deliver that. Price and availability sit firmly in the everyday range. A large bottle typically runs under $20 and lasts for months. Sold everywhere from big box retailers to natural grocery chains, not locked behind a specialty storefront or a waitlist. There's something almost stubborn about a company that never needed a scandal to force a reformulation, because the founder built the formula right the first time and simply never touched it. The next brand on this list didn't earn its spot through decades of history. It earned its spot through a dermatologist clipboard and a lab report nobody paid the company to fake. Safe pick 2. Attitude. Where others bury synthetic fragrance in a single vague word on the label, this brand builds its entire identity around naming exactly what isn't in the bottle. The origin story starts in Quebec, where the founders built the company specifically around a published list of restricted ingredients, refusing categories most competitors still use freely, long before clean beauty became a shelf category at every major retailer. Here is the verification. Attitude products are dermatologist-tested and hypoallergenic, with formulations independently confirmed free of parabens, SLS, SLES, silicone, PEG, phthalates, triclosan, formaldehyde, and synthetic fragrance. That is not a single certification. That is a documented list checked against the actual formula rather than a marketing claim printed on the front of the bottle. Here is the performance proof. The brand's bar and liquid soaps carry low aquatic toxicity ratings on top of the skin safety claims, meaning the runoff breaks down safely rather than accumulating in waterways, a detail most soap brands never test for or disclose at all. The honest limitation here is scent-related. Because the brand avoids synthetic fragrance almost entirely, the natural scent profile is much subtler than what shoppers used to a heavily perfumed bar might expect. Anyone buying soap specifically for a strong signature smell will likely find this underwhelming compared to a mall brand built around fragrance. Price and availability land in the accessible mid-range. Bars and bottles typically run between $6 and $12, sold at major grocery chains and pharmacies, not restricted to a specialty boutique. The next brand on this list doesn't have a lab report behind it at all. It has something older than any certification body currently in existence. Safe Pick 3 African Black Soap. Where others lean on a lab coat and a certification logo to earn trust, this one leans on roughly 1,000 years of continuous use with no scandal ever attached to the formula. The origin story here predates the entire modern soap industry by centuries. African black soap traces back to the Yoruba people of West Africa, made traditionally from plantain skin ash, combined with shea butter and coconut or palm oil, passed down through generations of small-scale, often family-run production rather than developed in a corporate lab chasing a patent. Here is the verification, and it comes from a source with no financial stake in the brand. Dr. Alok Vij, a dermatologist at the Cleveland Clinic, has publicly confirmed the soap's natural antibacterial and exfoliating properties, noting it can help with everything from acne to dandruff when used correctly. That is a credentialed medical opinion, not a marketing claim written by the company selling the bar. Here is the ingredient proof. Read the ingredients on an authentic bar: plantain skin ash, shea butter, coconut oil, and palm kernel oil. 4 ingredients, all traceable to a specific plant source, with no synthetic filler required to hold the bar together or extend its shelf life artificially. The honest limitation matters here more than with most brands on this list, because the category has a real counterfeit problem. Authenticity varies significantly by seller, and some mass-produced versions add glycerin, dyes, or synthetic fragrance to cut costs, diluting the traditional formula. Buyers need to actually check the ingredient list rather than trusting the label alone, since not every bar sold as African black soap is made the traditional way. It can also be too strong for very sensitive skin when used daily, and dermatologists generally recommend starting with every other day use rather than twice daily. Price and availability sit in a wide range depending on authenticity. Genuine imported bars typically run between $8 and $20, available through specialty retailers, black-owned beauty brands, and increasingly through major online marketplaces, though buyers should verify the seller before assuming the bar is the real thing. There's a kind of quiet confidence in a formula that never needed a rebrand, never needed a reformulation, and never needed a lawsuit to force honesty onto the label, because honesty was already the default 1,000 years before anyone started asking for it. The next brand on this list is not old at all. It went viral for a completely different reason, and it happens to have the dermatology receipts to back up the hype. Safe Pick 4 Tallow Soap. Where others chase a trend with an empty ingredient list and a good marketing budget, this one went viral and actually had the substance to survive the scrutiny that followed. The origin story here is less a company history and more a return to something older than modern skincare itself. Tallow, which is rendered animal fat, was a staple ingredient in soap making for centuries before synthetic surfactants took over the category in the 20th century. Small batch makers brought it back recently, marketing it directly to people frustrated with reactive, breakout-prone skin. Here is the verification, and it's coming from actual users with documented skin conditions, not just influencer testimonials. Reporting from NBC Select features users describing measurable improvement in hormonal breakouts and eczema symptoms after switching, with one user noting a single bar lasted more than 6 months due to its density and slow wear. Here is the ingredient proof. Read the label on a typical tallow bar. Grass-fed beef, tallow, olive oil, coconut oil, and often lavender or tea tree. Essential oil for scent. 4 to 5 ingredients, all recognizable, with the fat itself rich in vitamins A, D, E, and K that many synthetic soaps simply cannot replicate. The honest limitation needs to be said plainly, because it will turn some people away immediately. This is soap made from animal fat, and vegans or anyone uncomfortable with that sourcing should skip this pick entirely, regardless of how the skin results look on paper. It can also feel heavier and less foamy than a sulfate-based bar, which some users interpret as the soap not working, when it's actually just a different lather profile entirely. Price and availability sit on the higher end for a bar soap. Small batch tallow soap typically runs between $10 and $18 per bar, sold mostly through independent makers, farmers markets, and online direct-to-consumer shops, rather than big-box retailers. Not every viral product deserves the attention it gets. This one happens to have the dermatology backing that most trends never bother earning before they fade. The final brand on this list has been sitting quietly on pharmacy shelves for over 100 years, never trending, never scandalized, just consistently doing exactly what the label has always promised. Safe pick 5, Grandpa's Pine Tar Soap. Where others reformulate every few years to chase a trend or dodge a lawsuit, this one has stayed essentially the same bar for well over a century. The origin story here goes back to the 1870s, when pine tar soap was formulated as a simple remedy for skin irritation, using ingredients pulled straight from the pine tree itself. The brand never chased modern packaging or a celebrity endorsement. It just kept making the same bar and let word of mouth carry it forward through generations of the same families buying it. Here is the verification, and it comes from longevity rather than a certification badge. A formula that has stayed on pharmacy and general store shelves for more than 100 years, without a reformulation scandal, a recall, or a lawsuit, is its own kind of track record, one that no marketing team could manufacture even with an unlimited budget. Here is the ingredient proof. Read the label on the original bar. Pine tar, tallow, or vegetable oil base, water, and glycerin. No synthetic fragrance layered on top to mask the scent. No dye added for shelf appeal. No formaldehyde releasing preservative required because the ingredient list was never complicated enough to need one. The honest limitation is the smell itself, and it needs to be set up front. Pine tar has a strong, distinctly medicinal scent that some people genuinely love and others find hard to tolerate day to day. This is not a soap built for someone who wants a bar that smells like a spa. It's built for someone who wants a bar that works. And that trade-off won't suit every household. Price and availability land solidly in the budget range. A bar typically costs under $6, sold in most drugstores, general stores, and major retailers, with no waitlist, no exclusive drop, and no markup for packaging. 100 years without a scandal isn't luck. It's what happens when a company never gives itself a reason to need a reformulation, because the original bar was never built on a shortcut to begin with. 5 brands built on trust that eventually cracked. 5 brands that never needed to crack in the first place, because they never took the shortcut that put the other 5 on this list. 10 brands. 5 with billion-dollar verdicts, active recalls, and settlements sitting behind the label. 5 with nothing to hide, because they never took the shortcut in the first place. Here's the pattern worth remembering long after this video ends. Price was never the tell. Packaging was never the tell. The tell was always whether a company had to get caught before it told the truth, or whether it just told the truth from day one. That's the only real test that matters next time you're standing in the soap aisle. So which one is sitting in your shower right now? Subscribe and go check the label before you use it again. 5 brands earned their spot the slow way. 5 earned theirs the hard way, one lawsuit at a time.